Hello and welcome. This is Michelle with Paper Stamp Ink. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to show you, as a follow-up to my previous video, how I made the card case for that card kit. So let's go ahead and open this up and I'll show you what's inside. So I made this case to coordinate with a set of gift cards. If you're interested in seeing how I made these cards, you can watch the previous video, and I will put a link to that in the description of this video. If you like the information that you see on my videos, I sure would appreciate if you give me a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe, the button down at the bottom there, so you can get notified of future videos. Go ahead and tap the bell too, and that way it'll come into your feed and let you know when I have made a post. So let's keep this out. I'm going to go ahead and show you how we made this case. So you're going to need a few items for this, not too many. Let's go ahead and grab our paper, stamp, and ink. So for paper, you're going to need one sheet of the Granny Apple Green, and that is 8.5 by 11. A piece of Balmy Blue at 2.25 by 6.25. 2 strips, one of the Balmy Blue that is 1.5 by 11, and one that is 1 inch by 11. And then you're going to need a couple of pieces that I've already prepped for us here. You're going to need a piece of Whisper White that is 3 3/4 by 2.5, and another piece of Whisper White that is 3.5 by 2.25. That is going to be what we use to do the stamped image. Now I'm not going to go ahead and show you how I did this watercolor background and the stamping, because that's in the previous video. We're going to save a little bit of time and just get right to the creation of the box. So we are going to take our Granny Apple Green, and I thought I could use some designer series paper, but instead let's go ahead and make our own designer series paper in a pattern that coordinates with the items that are in the gift box. There's no Dandelion Wishes paper out there yet, so I thought I'd just go ahead and make my own. And I like to do a tone on tone sometimes, and so we're going to come in here and I am just going to randomly stamp around this piece of cardstock. I am using the Granny Apple Green ink and the Dandelion Wishes stamp set, which is what was used to make the note cards. And just so you can take a look at that, this is the Dandelion Wishes stamp set. It comes with some great sentiments, and these dandelions are just so versatile. You can get a lot of use out of this set. You don't need a lot, and they make a beautiful impact on a card. And one more here. And then I'm going to come in with my smaller stamp here with the floating seeds, and I just can't do that sideways, so I'm going to turn it here. I'm just going to fill in some of those empty spaces there. Let's see, one more there. Yeah, actually let's do a couple more coming in off of the outsides here. I said a couple, that's a few, isn't it? There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the Balmy Blue strip, that large strip, and I'm going to use the Balmy Blue ink for that. Let's clean off that stamp so that we don't cross-contaminate there with our ink pads. I just feel like I'm talking about cooking when I talk about cross-contamination. Don't put your chicken on your vegetable board. All right, sorry, getting off track there. Where this one just takes a very few stamps, and I don't have too much room actually on this one with the smaller sheet, but I'll fit a couple of those in there. All right, now we can get to creating the box. We're going to bring in our scoreboard. If you don't have a scoreboard, it's one of those tools that would be a great addition to your stash. I highly recommend it. The Stampin' Up! One has comes with this tool that I like the rounded edges because it keeps me from going through my paper. Sometimes with my bone folder, I can get a little bit overly aggressive when I'm trying to push through my paper on that. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start on the long side here. Oops, let me get that in the screen for you. And we are going to score this at 1/2 inch. Oops, I'm sorry. We're going to score it at 3 inches. And 3.5. And then we're going to score it again at 8. And 8.5. Now let's flip it. That is where we're going to score at the 1/2 inch mark. And I apologize, my camera is really close in, so I'm having a hard time getting this all on the screen. Hopefully you guys can get the picture of what I'm doing here. We're going to score it 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 7.5 inches, and again at 8 inches. All right, I'm going to grab my scissors, and all we're going to do is cut a couple of pieces away. Now I find it easier to see where I'm cutting if I flip that paper over versus looking at the pattern. And I'm going to cut in along that second score line up and the second score line in. We're just going to take those pieces out. We're going to do the same this corner. And 2 more. Let's get that all the way in there. One of my other versatile tools that I enjoy is a corner rounder. We're going to get that out next. If you don't have a corner rounder in your stash, it is well worth adding. You'll find out that you'll get a lot of use out of it, and it just adds that little finishing touch to projects, especially on boxes. I really like that, but also use it on your cards as well for your mats or your sentiment pieces. There we go. All right, so we've got this all cut out. So you see we're missing the corners here, and go ahead and start folding along all of those score lines. So this comes together pretty quickly. And bring in that corner rounder. The smaller pieces are our bottom, and this is going to be our top flap. And so let's go ahead and give a rounding on all of those corners there. And now you have your basic shape of your box. We could leave it just like this. I like to add another color, so I brought in that balmy blue to put on the base. We're going to just round 2 corners of that piece because the bottom edge is straight, so we don't need to round that off. Adhere that with your adhesive. My favorite is this, the Tombow Mono Multi liquid glue. I like working with the liquid glue because it gives me the ability to shift that paper slightly if it didn't line up the way I wanted it right away. Oops. Let's flip that over, and I'm just going to line those edges up there. Smooth that out, and then we're just going to need to adhere our sides. The easiest way to do that is just to run a little glue down here. Now make sure you don't go past that score line there, or you're going to get that into the bottom of your card or your box, and when you put your cards in, you may have some problems with those sticking. Let's go ahead and we can use this to give me a little bit of something to put some pressure on right there. Here that. Here this one. Now we just have to finish our band. So we have these two pieces cut. I'm going to put my glue on there. Now I could have left these plain, but after I got done with it, I thought, you know, they needed a little something. So I did go in and I added some Stella white on those little ends of the dandelions. And it's a very quick process to add that, and you will see I'm not trying to be exactly precise. I'm just pouncing that on, and it doesn't take long for it to start showing up. You won't be able to see exactly where you're putting it, or not very easily when you put it down the first time, but as it dries, it's going to become more pronounced. And so if you need to go back in and add some more after it dries, you can do that. Like, it looks like I missed a couple pieces there, so I'm going to add there. And I'm going to do the same on the blue piece here. Now, I wanted to bring in a little bit of that white in my band as well. And rather than using the Stella, I grabbed one of my white Jelly Roll pens and just do a very simple stitch line along both edges. If you wanted to do another pattern, you can definitely do that. You want to do some swirls, asterisks, whatever you think you'd like to see. To me, the stitching look is quick and simple. I don't have to think too much about it. Now on our sample one, I did have my focal image going in the landscape, and we're going to do this one in the portrait. So you can switch it up a little bit that way as well. It just kind of depends on what image you have, what you like best. It's all up to your preferences. There we go. We've got that done. Let's bring back in the scoreboard, and we are going to score this again at the 3-inch. So the same measurements that we used along the long side of the box. The 3-inch, the 3.5. Do be careful as you're going over to make sure where you've got that double layer, you're giving it a good crease. And the 8-inch and the 8.5. All right. Give these a quick fold there, a quick fold here. Close up our card base, our card box. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Let's see, I think I'm going to put it on this side here. Right there. Hold that for a second. Well, more than a second, maybe 2 or 3. All right. Oops. Not long enough, Michelle. Under pressure. Then on this previous one, we had the belly band going this way with the landscape, and this time I'm going to do it portrait, just to do something a little different. Come in, put your glue on your belly band where you want that, and I think I like it right about there, and I'm actually going to slide this up closer to the middle for that portrait look. So there we go. We have our completed box for our cards. You can use this for a set of cards. I was able to fit 6 cards in there. Now they are not a lot of layers on these. I did a matte, a sentiment, and then the card base, but I was able to fit 6 and 6 envelopes in there. If you're doing some thicker cards, you may need to make it a smaller gift set. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment to check out some of my other videos if you have time, and I sure would love if you would follow my channel by subscribing and hitting that bell. If you need any of the products that I used today, you can visit my site at www.paperstampink.stampinup.net to order from there, and I'd appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. You have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.